Today I'm presenting a film that etches regret into the very soul.
I'll give you one more chance for romance. Before I reach that corner, if you say the words I love you, I will immediately turn back. I miss you so much.
When love reaches a crossroads, a situation that could have been resolved with a single word of reconciliation somehow causes two people to lose the one they were meant to spend their lives with. How deep must the regret be for him to dress as Jai Zonbao and scream in the streets, or for her to devour mangoes despite a life-threatening allergy? Join me as we dive deep into this film about love, a relationship that crumbled in silence and ended in a tragic ritual. X-Fila 3, The Return of the Exes. 5 years ago, a couple arrived in the big city to make their mark, squeezed into a tiny rental holding onto a shared dream. They promised to work hard together and build a better future. 5 years later, those dreams became reality. Meng Yun is successful, they have a spacious, bright home, and life finally seems to be on the right track. The unity that once weathered every storm has now been eroded by the daily grind of trivial matters. The cause of this current conflict is blurred, only the outcome remains. Lying on the sofa, Meng Yun is overwhelmed by 5 years of accumulated grievances. He feels that in every argument, regardless of who was right, he was always the one to back down and comfort the girl he'd spoiled. This time he's exhausted. He wants to see what happens if he doesn't take the first step. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, Lin Jia is placing an internal gamble of her own. She is certain that just like countless times before, Meng Yun will walk through that door within 2 hours to give her a hug, and then everything will simply vanish. As time ticked away, the world outside the door remained deathly silent. Lin Jia's anticipation chilled, curdling into disappointment and suspicion. She began to test him in the most extreme way by packing her bags, staging a dramatic moving out performance. Again and again, she dragged her suitcase back and forth across the living room, intentionally making noise, each clang a silent plea, waiting for that man to grab her arm and say, "I'm sorry." Meanwhile, Meng Yun, like a wary cat, peered through the crack in the door, listening intently to every sound inside. His heart was aching with concern. He felt compelled to maintain a facade of so-called male dignity, feigning indifference until the following morning, when the last sliver of hope in Lin Jia's heart was utterly crushed. Dragging her suitcase, she stood before Meng Yun for a final goodbye and one last test.
Is there anything else you want to say to me? Since you've already made up your mind, what else is there for me to say?
One thought she wouldn't leave, the other thought he would ask her to stay. So, two stubborn and prideful souls, in the most hurtful way, personally brought their 5-year romance to a lingering, unresolved end. This scene mirrors a common affliction found in real-world relationships. We always assume our partners can read our minds, understanding all of our unspoken subtext. But the human heart isn't code, it cannot be precisely decrypted. This tragedy could have been easily avoided, yet neither was willing to be the first to speak the simplest, most effective truth. A single moment of honesty outweighs 10,000 tests. It's a pity they both chose the most emotionally draining path, initiating this suicidal game of pride. Little did they know that this seemingly casual parting, marking the start of a long and agonizing journey of self-torment. And while Meng Yun and Lin Jia's story is the primary arc, their respective friends, Yu Fai and Ding Dian, serve as a mirror to this narrative, reflecting a starkly different way of handling emotional conflict. At a restaurant, Yu Fai and Ding Dian are heatedly debating Meng Yun and Jia's breakup. From a male perspective, Yu Fei argues that Meng Yun's stubbornness is driven by his ego, while Ding Dian points out with piercing accuracy that behind every one of a girl's insincere tests lies a heart that desperately longs to be asked to stay.
To prove the talent you always talk about, we have to keep making money.
You men always say the same thing, I'm working so hard. Isn't it all for our future? Yeah, I'm gone. Will you just stop striving?
Their dialogue perfectly summarizes the fundamental differences in how men and women process emotions. Before this debate over talent and the future can even conclude, Ding Dian's attention is caught by Yu Fai constantly checking his phone. A crisis of trust erupts in an instant. Unlike Meng Yun's silence, Yu Fai chooses to hide behind lies and deceptions. He uses his sweet talk to keep Ding Dian at bay, while frantically purging his chat history under the table. But just when he thinks he's home free and prepares to hand over the phone, a sudden incoming message catches him completely off guard. In a moment of desperation, he makes a dramatic move, tossing his phone into the boiling hot pot. This single act brings all their underlying issues to the surface. Yet, unlike the silent treatment adopted by Meng Yun and Lin Jia, Yu Fei and Ding Dian opt for a highly ritualized frankness session. Over drinks and fueled by alcohol, they lay bare all the secrets they have kept from each other for years. From deleting the other person's friends of the opposite sex. From testing loyalty with an alt account to the secret of the tattoo. The intensity and shock value of this frankness session are staggering.
6 months ago, a beautiful woman suddenly added you on WeChat. You two hit it off, but then you suddenly lost touch, right? Well, I'm telling you now, I was the one who sent her to test you.
It didn't stop. Later, she used a different account to add me back, and I saved her under a man's name. She's actually quite into me now. Infuriating, isn't it? That was your best friend, Meng Meng, wasn't it? Meng Meng my foot.
This frankness session ended messily with Ding Dian calling for a breakup. It seems to be falling apart like the main story, but it's fundamentally different. Although Yu Fei and Ding Dian's methods are fierce and childish, even absurd, they at least chose to communicate. They laid all their cards on the table and underwent a thorough emotional detox. In contrast, Meng Yun and Lin Jia bottled everything up, letting it ferment and fester until it became irreparable. Shortly after the breakup, the film presents a classic gender difference. Guide, brothers in distress Meng Yun and Yu Fei seem to break their chains and entered their so-called golden single period. They hit the clubs, losing themselves in the deafening music. They rented speedboats and partied wildly on sunny beaches. They played games all night, enjoying their unbridled freedom. This brief binge is a retaliatory rebound from 5 years of emotional restraint, as well as a way to numb themselves. They use the external clamor to drown out the inner void. After the carnival, there is only deeper loneliness. When Meng Yun, alone late at night, watched a young couple flirting outside his office, a surge of profound loss finally overwhelmed him like a rising tide. Only then did he truly realize what he had lost. In contrast, Lin Jia and Ding Dian didn't experience the so-called carnival phase. Instead, they plunged directly into the agonizing aftermath of the breakup. Lin Jia constantly scrolled through photos of them on her phone, reminiscing about every little detail of their past. Each memory felt like a blade repeatedly carving into her heart. Ding Dian turned to alcohol for companionship, using it to numb her senses all day long. Their lives and work spiraled into total disarray, as if the entire world had lost its color. This contrast poignantly illustrates the different ways men and women process a breakup. Men tend to look outward for solace and distraction, while women are more inclined to turn inward to process and absorb the pain. The most tragic part of love is the series of missed connections. And these so-called misses are often born of the pride and hesitation of both parties. A turning point seemed to emerge during Lin Jia's solo trip to Dolphin Bay, the very place they had promised to visit 5 years ago. It was a promise that remained unfulfilled until they broke up. Now Lin Jia embarking on this journey alone is both a farewell to the past and a form of self-healing. She watched dolphins frolicking in the sea and strolled through local markets, her spirits gradually beginning to lift. Back home, Meng Yun saw Lin Jia's solo travel photos on her social media feed. One full-body photo in particular set off alarm bells in his mind, and he began to obsess who took that photo. This surge of jealousy revealed that deep down he still cared intensely. Two missed connections followed one after another as the seasons changed. Lin Jia suddenly came down with a high fever, a recurring issue Meng Yun remembered all too clearly. He drafted a message of concern but hesitated over the send button for a long while, ultimately failing to send it because of his pitiful pride. Choosing a more roundabout way, he called Ding Dian instead, asking her to look after Lin Jia. But fate's script was already written. Ding Dian got dead drunk that night and completely forgot about the request. Just as Meng Yun was hesitating, someone else appeared. Lin Jia's old classmate Wang Xin. Wang Xin had harbored a crush on her since college after reuniting at a class reunion. He had been silently looking out for her. While driving her home, he noticed she didn't look well. Upon returning home, he called to check on her, and after learning she had a high fever, he rushed her to the hospital immediately. The contrast is cruel. The man who should have been there most after 5 years of love was absent because of his pride. Meanwhile, an old classmate she hadn't seen in a decade zites the chance through his sincere concern. This incident left Lin Jia utterly disillusioned with Meng Yun. She realized that if a man lacks even the courage to reach out, then how can the relationship ever be saved? Another crucial missed connection happened when they learned at the KTV. Lin Jia and Ding Dian were at a party with a sketchy crowd. Anxious Meng Yun and Yu Fei rushed there to save the day. They used a ruse to lure the other men away from the party. But when Lin Jia and Ding Dian came looking, Meng Yun chose to hide. He didn't want Lin Jia to know he had been there. He was still playing that game of caring from the shadows. As Lin Jia sat heartbroken and alone on the entrance steps, Meng Yun finally mustered the courage to step out. But he was too late again. Wang Xin appeared once more like a guardian knight and gently took Lin Jia away. This sight completely crushed Meng Yun. He returned to the drinking party and got wasted, sending a voice message to Lin Jia in a drunken state.
Come back to me. Please come back. I can't do this. I can't just come back.
And all those long suppressed heartfelt words finally poured out, but ironically, his wingman Yu Fai thoughtfully unsent them for him. Those sincere words that could have changed everything were ultimately buried in time by pride and bad timing. It's a reminder that between thinking and doing lies a vast Pacific Ocean called courage. In reality, so many relationships wither because we think too much and do too little. Sometimes even the most awkward phone call or a simple "How are you?" is enough to melt the ice. Every moment you hesitate, you might just be handing over an opportunity to someone else. When you fail to turn the old chapter, new characters will inevitably enter the scene, forcing the story in a completely new direction. Wang Jin's stability and attentiveness slowly thawed Lin Jia's frozen heart. Provided the most grounded and silent companionship for a woman who lost all her sense of security in a 5-year emotional marathon. Wang Xin's presence was like a safe harbor in a storm. Meanwhile, a girl named Wang Zi burst into Meng Yun's world. She was lively and bright like a dazzling beam of sunshine. More importantly, in her, Meng Yun saw the shadow of a younger Lin Jia, that same fearlessness and that spirit of daring to love and hate.
Hey, old man, do you still miss her? Oh, then do you like me? And let's be together.
Wang Xi's bold confession caught Meng Yun off guard, but it also sent ripples through his long dormant heart. After a breakup, many people unconsciously search for their ex's shadow in the next person they meet. Meng Yun's attraction to Wang Zi was in large part due to this projection. Perhaps it wasn't Wang Zi herself whom he liked, but the phantom that bore a striking resemblance to the younger Lin Jia. The breaking point occurs in Ding Dian's cafe. Wang Zi takes the initiative and seeks out Lin Jia. Not a single word is exchanged between the two women, only a long tension-filled gaze. In Wang Zi's eyes, Lin Jia sees something she once possessed, but which has slowly eroded over 5 years of emotional attrition. That unwavering admiration, conviction, and confidence in the person she loves. At that moment, Lin Jia's inner conviction completely shatters. She doesn't see a rival, she sees her own past. She realizes that the reason why Meng Yun is drawn to Wang Zi is because she is no longer the girl who once inspired his reckless devotion. This realization hurts more than any quarrel or betrayal. That night, Ding Dian tells Meng Yun about the encounter. Finally, grasping the gravity of the situation, Meng Yun races frantically toward Lin Jia's apartment. But when he reaches the door, breathless, he sees a pair of men's leather shoes. He knows he is too late once and for all. Only then does he truly grasp the crushing weight of loss. This entire chain reaction started with that initial trivial bit of awe, stubborn pride that refused to back down. That night, in two parallel realities, Meng Yun kisses Wang Zi out of remorse and impulse, while Lin Jia accepts Wang Xin in despair and self-abandonment. They signal the total demise of their old relationship by starting new ones. This might not be love, but a form of release, a type of revenge and a ritual to break from their former selves. Yet Wang Zi is clear-eyed. She loves Meng Yun, but she also knows she is merely a replacement.
I know why you like me. It's because I remind you so much of her, isn't it, Hope? The tragedy is the more you like me, the more it proves you can't forget her.
This sentence captures the profound sorrow of being a substitute. Finally, at the street corner, she said, "If you love me, turn back," giving Meng Yun one last chance. Meng Yun's silence broke her heart completely, leading her to choose a decent departure. Perhaps it wasn't that Meng Yun fell in love with Wang Zi, but rather he was seeking the shadow of Lin Jia, whom he could never go back to within her. This was both an injustice to Wang Zi and a self-deception of his own feelings. The story's climax and its most heart-wrenching scene is when they finally fulfill the breakup ritual they once thought they'd never need her.
And what if you don't want me anymore?
Then I'll dress up as a Junbao and shout 10,000 times on the busiest street. Yeah. I love you. How's that? And if you're the one who needs me,
Then I'll binge on mangoes and die from the allergy.
Ding Dian tells Meng Yun that Lin Jia is leaving the city with Wang Xin. One thought she'd never truly leave, the other thought he'd eventually ask her to stay. At this moment, all their illusions vanish into thin air. They finally realize that this relationship has truly reached its end, and so they use the most tragic, solemn, and ritualistic way to bid farewell to each other, and to the stubborn versions of themselves from the past. Meng Yun puts on the Zhaizun Bao costume, donning the golden hoop that symbolizes renouncing worldly desires and accepting responsibility. He looks like a madman, screaming the words over and over again.
It's hard to say. Let's not let resentment linger or feign regret. I love you.
The words that were once so hard to say during their relationship are now being screamed hoarsely in full view of the world. Only by donning the golden circlet can Zhaizun Bao become the all-powerful Monkey King. But in doing so, he loses Fairy Xixia forever. Meng Yun's attire at this moment is a metaphor for his own growth. He has finally learned to let go of his pride and express his love. Yet he has lost the one person he most wanted to tell forever. In another room, Lin Jia opens a box of mangoes, the very fruit she is allergic to. She knows exactly what the consequences will be, but she continues expressionless bite after bite, shoveling the golden fruit into her mouth, until hives break out over her body and her breathing grows labored. This is an act of near self-mutilation. Using physical agony to drown out the pain in her heart, she uses this method to bring a final end to this relationship of love and pain. They punish their own cowardice and lack of courage in the most extreme way possible. They fulfilled their post-breakup pacts, but failed to honor their promises while in love. This scene pushes the film's emotional intensity to its climax, becoming a heartbreaking moment for countless viewers, because it shows us that the death of a relationship can truly be this tragic and this hauntingly unforgettable.
Just a bit of affection, hard to say no hate, no clinging, no feigned sighs.
X-Fila 3 attained legendary status because it isn't a romantic fairy tale, but a raw bleeding reality. It acts as a precise documentary, recording how modern love withers away through repeated suspicion, testing, and silence. It also reflects the common emotional ailments of modern people. We long for love yet are too proud to express it. We fear loneliness yet indulge in the freedom of being alone. Use the harshest words to wound the ones we love most, all while expecting them to see through to our softest core. At the same time, it teaches us, not every I love you leads to a future together. As a famous Korean League of Legends philosopher once said, failure is a constant throughout life. Now that the opportunity is right before us, we must consider, could this be the only chance we have in our lives? Finally, I hope we can all engage in fewer mind games in our relationships and show more sincerity. Don't wait until a tragic farewell ritual is required to feel deep regret. Because life isn't a movie, there is no background music and no close-up. Sometimes one turn of the back lasts a lifetime.